I'm ready when you guys are. Ziri on YouTube.
Let me check on YouTube. I'm waiting for the email.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to the Chatham Township Committee meeting of November 12th, 2024. We are returning from executive session. Our clerk has confirmed that adequate notice was given. I would ask everybody to please stand, if you can, for our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'm very excited to start off the meeting with a special proclamation to celebrate the Chatham Colony Association anniversary. Many of us know the Chatham Colony Pool, but there's a deep, rich history behind that pool and that area, which is something we should all be very proud of. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Chatham Association. Whereas in 1921, the Chatham Colony Association was formed for the purpose of creating a community to raise family in a rural environment, and members were mostly Eastern European Jewish immigrants who escaped persecution, anti-Semitism, and a harsh life in Europe. And whereas on October 19, 1922, the Chatham Colony Association, Inc. purchased a 145-acre tract of forested land situated west of Lafayette Avenue, between what is now known as Maple Street and Southern Boulevard, herein referred to as the Chatham Colony. And whereas in 1923 to 1924, colony members parceled the land, including a 4-acre tract of land at the corner of Spring Street and School Ave, set aside for community activities. The colony members constructed their own roads, cut down trees, built a water system, community center, and recreation area, all of which lay the groundwork for future generations to reside in the colony section. And whereas in 1928, the Chatham Colony's community pool opened for members and guests to enjoy next to its community house, and to this day, the Chatham Community Pool is open every summer for future generations to enjoy, thanks to the foresight of the Chatham Colony members wanting to preserve an idyllic, peaceful place. And whereas over the course of its 47-year history, the Chatham Colony Association contributed to help those in need during World War II, hosting fundraisers and sewing countless baby layettes for war orphans, donated more than $140,000 to at least 48 charities and persons, and donated their land on Southern Boulevard to build the fire department station. And whereas the colony members also volunteered at the fire department, taught art and language classes at the community house, ran the summer camp for the colony children, always encouraging the celebration of spiritual and religious freedom. And whereas the Chatham Colony Association dissolved on January 1st, 1969, but the legacy of the Chatham Colony Association lives on, with the community benefiting from the rich and storied history. And whereas the Mayor and Chatham Township Committee desire to honor the Chatham Township Historical Society and generational residents, including Karen Blumenfeld, upon the occasion of the 102nd anniversary of the Chatham Colony Association. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Township Committee of the Township of Chatham that we hereby recognize 2024 as the 102nd celebration of the Chatham Colony Association, and that the entire community offers its recognition of all those who endeavored to create the Chatham Colony, and to those who continue to honor, preserve, and celebrate its unique history and positive impact on generations who enjoy what we still call the Chatham Colony section of Chatham Township. So I will ask Karen Blumenfeld and Pat and Martha Wells from the Chatham Historical Society to come up and accept the proclamation.
Well, Karen's one of the few people from the colony who still lives here. Her mother passed away just this last year, and we're sorry we didn't get this done while she was still living. So this is a real honor to Karen that she is really keeping the history of the colony alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I just want to thank you, Mayor and committee members, everyone that's here. Tom also for helping so much with the event 2 years ago, the Wells sisters. This is truly amazing. I know my mom would be so proud that the township was recognizing the colony and all the contributions that were made, and I'm so proud to be a third generational resident of the Chatham Colony in Chatham Township. And I actually brought from the Chatham Colony book that Berta Bozia did, the map, the original colony map that shows where it was, how it was developed, the plan for it, and the individuals that were going to own the plots of land, and that it was right in the middle of, with Floral Hill to the east of Lafayette Avenue, and to the west of the colony would become Rolling Hill. So I brought some copies of that map, and I put those notations on it. And thank you just so very, very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate you, bringing this to our attention, because especially the Chatham Colony Pool has brought so much joy to so many, and it's just an important part of the history of Chatham Township. So it's very important to have that recognized. So we appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
And it's just wonderful that they had the forethought to really think about this and to want it to be for future generations to enjoy. And the Colony Pool is clearly something that everyone does enjoy. So, and it's kept up very nicely. And every time I go by there, I think about when I was little and learned how to swim there. And just so many, many beautiful memories. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're also excited to be celebrating today our police department reaccreditation. So I'm going to bring up Harry Delgado to speak a little bit about that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's indeed an honor for me to represent the State Association of Chiefs of Police here tonight and recognizing the Chatham Township Police Department because it's truly remarkable. Just to add context to what I'm about to say, about 54% of all the agencies in the state of New Jersey that would be eligible to apply for accreditation have made it, 54%. But those that stayed a second time, that percentage drops to 32%. Those that make it 2 times, that drops to 12%. In the case of the Chatham Police Department, they made it through 3 reaccreditations beyond their initial accreditations. So they fall in an elite group of law enforcement agencies in the state of New Jersey of less than 8% that can claim that longevity in the accreditation program. So if you indulge me for a couple of minutes, I'd like to share with you the significance of the achievement. So the Chatham Township Police Department has once again made a commitment to adhering to best practices at the state and national level in a highly regarded statewide law enforcement accreditation program. This evening, they're recognized for achieving their 3rd reaccreditation. This program, administered through the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and New Jersey Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission, has helped to transparently demonstrate the professionalism and preparedness of state law enforcement agencies. It is purposefully designed to enhance the professionalism and transparency in the state's public safety system. Now, during these uniquely challenging times and a threat to our health and safety, encouraging police departments to follow standardized practices and policies is potentially a life-saving and cost-effective investment of time and resources. Now, the Chatham Township Police Department received this prestigious reaccredited agency status for a 3rd 3-year cycle. I've said that 3 times already, demonstrating that Chief Miller's first commitment to maintaining accredited status to remain on track with state and national standards and the continued expectations for quality, professional and ethical standards. Now, a little bit about the program. In order for you to maintain or stay in the program, you have to actually adhere to about 112 standards, well, exactly 112 standards in the state of New Jersey. That means over 400 proofs of adherence to those standards. The foundation of accreditation lies in the adoption of standards containing a clear statement of professional objectives, as I mentioned before, 112. It is a progressive and time-proven way of helping law enforcement agencies calculate and improve their overall performances. It is a certification by an independent body, in this case, the State Association of Chiefs of Police, that the agency was carefully measured against an established set of state and national standards and has met it. In the case of the Chatham Township Police Department, I dare say they have exceeded accepted practices in the field of law enforcement. Accreditation provides objective evidence of an agency's commitment to excellence in leadership, resource management, and service delivery. Government officials can be more confident in the ability from the agency to operate efficiently and meet community needs. And as you see many officers here, officers in accredited agencies can take pride that they have been objectively recognized for their professionalism and adherence to the highest standards. I wanted to say that at the end of that rigorous process, that the 3 years, we come on site and we do an assessment. In many instances, there are issues that we have to settle during that time. Here, that wasn't the case, and I'd like to say that we received a letter from Morris County Prosecutor's Office in which Prosecutor Robert Carroll stated that Chatham Township Police Department is an excellent partner for the Morris County Prosecutor's Office and attributes it to the leadership of Chief Thomas Miller. A high level of competence, leadership, and professionalism is evident within the agency. We also received calls from residents talking about the interaction between the police department and kids, praising the SRO program and many other programs that the police department does. So accreditation here is a culture. It's not just simply a process. It's something they've actually assimilated into everything they do, into the way they deliver police services. So in closing, I'd like to say that it is the opinion of the assessment team that the Chatham Township Police Department is a highly professional and committed agency which exemplifies all the tenets of law enforcement accreditation at the state and national level. And so therefore, again, I said it's indeed my pleasure here tonight to represent the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Commission and congratulate Chief Thomas Miller, Accreditation Manager Lieutenant Christopher Slayton, the members of the Chatham Township Police Department, the mayor, the council, and those citizens that they so proudly serve for having achieved their third reaccreditation, joining a very exclusive group of law enforcement agencies that make this commitment to excellence in policing. So to all, indeed, congratulations. I guess the long drive affected my speech, and I apologize for that. But at any rate, I want to present the chief with the certificate of accreditation. Mayor, if you'd like to.
Yes, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Mr. Delgado for coming and presenting this, but to, of course, our police department for the work that they do. And as you mentioned in your speech that you had given, it's not just, you know, some of the technical things that they achieved, but it's also the comments from the community, and that's what I always hear. So they do an amazing job, and we're so pleased with the professionalism. But they also, the comments that I get is how nice they are, how helpful they are, and that's so meaningful, you know, to our community. So, you know, thank you all for your work and for achieving this accreditation. It's amazing. I appreciate it.
Congratulations again. Thank you.
Can we get a photo of that, please?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Good.
Congratulations, Mayor. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Say Harry on three. 1, 2, 3. Mayor Delgado.
Okay. Okay, we are ready for our first hearing of citizens. Mr. Lacani, did you want to provide the guidance, please?
Members of the public are now welcome to come to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments, and duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to the guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services, and we did not have any written comments today.
Okay, thank you. Anybody online?
We do not have any hands raised on Zoom at the moment.
Okay, anybody want to come up to the mic?
Hi, my name is Arlene Driscoll. That's Driscoll, and I am at Terrace Drive in the Township. And my question is, with respect to the October 31st Chatham Courier, about affordable housing and the new mandate. Mayor, you had explained as part of this article that the present need in the township refers to rehabilitating existing affordable housing at the Vernon Grove condos. Can you explain what you mean by that and how rehabilitation of those condos will happen? What is the process? Literally, what will be happening at those condos?
And I wish I knew the answer to that question, but I will tell you what, that was a little bit paraphrased, but so the 30 present need is supposed to be rehabilitation, but the only affordable housing we have right now in Chatham Township is the Vernon Grove Apartments. So presumably, that's where the intent is. What that program looks like, we're still exploring. So we don't, it's all new to us because we've never done that before. We've never had, I think the prior present need might have been 8, and I'm not even sure how that was met at the time. So that's something that our administrators, as a matter of fact, one of the things, I'm not sure if it's up for discussion today, was in terms of the guidance that's being provided to, there has to be some property reviews to kind of determine what form that's going to take. So that's the next step, was going to be a property review by, was it our engineer, or are they going to outsource? The building inspector.
Yeah, the building inspector. So as part of rehab, you do what's known as a building conditions survey, and there's certain major systems that are covered within that. However, we are also negotiating, we can't get into too much detail, with Vernon Grove's management on, overall what that assistance would look like to meet their needs as well. But as the mayor said, that does fall into our affordable housing inventory, and rehab is an element of what is needed over there.
And in terms of rehab, could you be referring to expansion, building more
Right.
units there, or are you just upgrading existing units?
Yeah. So rehab would, things like roofing, things like hot water heaters, boilers, major systems, it's rehabilitation in that regards. Things that the state identifies as critical to, it's not adding, it's not expanding, it's not creating more, it's simply fixing the systems that are there that have aged over the years and that people may not be able to afford.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
No hands raised.
Okay. And Nick? That's fine, if you want to come up later, okay. Okay, so in that case, I will close the public hearing. And we're going to open up our workshop session. I'm going to start with the 2025 meeting dates.
Yes, this was distributed in the packet. The proposed dates follow the standard formula that we've used for recent years of meeting on the second and fourth Tuesdays. My main questions for the committee, my first question would be for January. January 7th has already been noticed as our reorganization meeting, which, as you all know, that's more of a ceremonial meeting and, you know, not a lot of substantive, not to say that the business there isn't substantive, but it's not, you know, policy discussions. It's all the reorganization resolutions and sort of an in and out meeting. So the rest of January, we can handle it either of two ways. We can do workshop on the 14th and regular on the 28th, or we can have, you know, sort of the combined meeting like what we're doing tonight and just do one other meeting on the 21st. So it's committee's discretion if you want to have 3 meetings in January or just 2 and have a workshop and regular combined, and then February start our normal cycle, and then the schedule that was distributed assumes 1 meeting in July, 1 meeting in August like we normally do, and then November is an odd month because November 4th would be the election. November 11th is Veterans Day, which is a Tuesday, so that's why we have just the 1 meeting on the 18th, which is sort of late, and it conflicts with the League of Municipalities, but it, you know, our other option would be to have it on a different day of the week that month. But so assuming we keep with Tuesdays, the 18th is the obvious option, and then moving into December, we can either keep 2 meetings or we can chop it down to 1 like we've done this year. So the schedule would ultimately be set at the reorg in January, but I wanted to present this to the committee now to get some direction, so that way when I prepare that resolution, I know what direction you want to go.
Okay, so, you know, December we can talk about. January, I would like to do the 3 meetings unless anybody really objects, mostly because we have that, you know, we have that affordable housing date we got to meet at the end of the month. So in case there's any discussion that's needed, so I'd rather keep those, well, 3 total, because the first meeting's just reorg, just so everybody's aware. And then, so the 14th, you know, if it's workshop, and we can take action if we need to, and then the 28th. So unless anybody, not that I'd like to start your year off with a lot of busy meetings, but I think this one's important to keep on the agenda. And we can always add special meetings, but we might as well have them in case we need them. And then December, what did you have on the recommendation? Because I can't find it.
So what I put on the list was to have a workshop on December 2nd and a regular meeting on the 16th, which that would be first and third Tuesday rather than the normal second and fourth. Because if we do, I may pull up the calendar, but the fourth Tuesday of December would be the 23rd, which is a little close to Christmas for comfort for having a meeting.
Yeah.
So then the other option would be if we wanted to do, you know, just 1 meeting like we've done this year, if we want to do the 9th or the 16th for a meeting.
I mean, I'm fine with the 2nd and the 16th.
And then we can always play around with it when we get later in the year, depending on, you know, if we have critical business that needs to be done, or if it's a light load at that point, we can
Okay.
play around with the schedule.
So why don't we leave it as for December 2nd and the 16th again, unless somebody has any objections to that. Wonderful. Any other comments about the schedule?
And I think part of why I went for the 2nd and 16th was also with only 1 meeting in November being, you know, some 3 weeks after our October meeting. I think that's why, in addition to having not wanting to have a meeting so close to Christmas, that was another consideration for bumping it up a little.
Yep, that sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Our Hometown Heroes Banner Program. Mr. Shadi, I hope you don't mind, but I will ask Mr. Salvis to come up and speak about that, if you wouldn't mind.
Appears to be. Good evening. Tom Salvis, Lisa Drive, former Air Force captain, Vietnam era. Yesterday, the Chatham Borough Council read and adopted a resolution in support of the Hometown Heroes Banners program, which many of you, perhaps everyone, has seen in surrounding communities: Summit, New Providence, Berkeley Heights, Long Hill Township. There's about 40 communities in New Jersey that have adopted this program. Many of them have been produced by Gates Flag Company, which is a Clifton, New Jersey-based organization that produces in the U.S. Flags. They've been doing banners for a number of years. As part of the Veterans Project of the Chathams, which was started a couple of years ago by Andy Hollander and Karen Brodsky at the library, they asked me if I would actually conduct interviews with veterans from the Chathams. We started the program, and we got off to a very good start. To date, we've produced, I've interviewed 9 veterans from the Chatham area. We're open to doing more. That's a whole other topic. But yesterday, the library very nicely had a full-day screening in their basement room of the 9 interviews, which is a total of about 2.5 hours of production. We were fortunate to have about 5 of our participants actually show up that day, yesterday, for some photos and whatever. And I would just say that the veteran community in the Chathams is fairly vibrant. We have, I would estimate, and the county has details and the Historical Society has details, we have probably 50, 60, 70 Vietnam-era veterans alone who are residents or have been residents of the Chathams. And if you go back farther into the Korean conflict, World War II, not necessarily World War I, but the data exists that families in these towns that do have these programs do actually nominate and request banners for World War II, in some cases World War I veterans. Photographs may not exist for all of these vets. Most of the banners you see around these towns do have a photograph, but the question was raised last night in the borough for someone or a veteran where there is not a photograph available. What would you do on a banner? So that's a discussion that, and this was the other point that was raised by the resolution, the establishment of a small advisory committee made up of representation from the borough, Chatham, and the library to go through the details. We don't have the details ironed out as to how we would fund this program. That's a very big question. How we would promote it, how we would accept requests for banners, and then lastly, where we would display them. So part of the concern we have is that, as you may know, the borough has about 50 poles and brackets that are already provisioned. We don't have in the township brackets on poles yet. This is a discussion that would have to be agreed upon, and presumably discussions with JCP&L to get permissions to provision those poles. And where would that area be? I mean, that's open to discussion as well. Our initial thought is probably up Southern Boulevard going toward the Hickory Plaza shopping area. That's probably the most heavily traveled commercial area in town, but again, that is open to discussion. So as we proceed, as the borough proceeds, as they will establish an advisory committee, and I know that Mayor Ewald is discussing whether this should be a township resolution or a proclamation to establish membership in that advisory committee, much like the Mayor's Wellness, where we do have township and borough folks. That's for you all to discuss. But basically, we were excited yesterday as Veterans Day, and I pushed for this as a date that they would have this resolution. And so we worked over the summertime, and we have great support in the borough, in the library for this, and I'm hopeful and positive that we'll have the support here in the township. So I can certainly entertain any logistical questions for a moment if anyone has any concerns. What I passed around was a copy of last night's borough resolution.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate all the efforts you've taken to do the interviews and then to champion these flags. I think it's a great idea, and I love when I see it in other towns, so I appreciate you doing that. Does anybody have any questions?
I guess, where can we access the interviews if we wanted to watch them?
They are posted, good question, on the library website.
Okay.
There's a whole section. In fact, I'll hand a page which has a link to it. But you can just go on the Library of Chatham's website, and Veterans Project of the Chathams is listed. There's background on that, and then each of the interviews is there. And I will just comment that, as a veteran myself, doing these interviews, a lot of times vets are a little bit reticent to talk about their service for a lot of different reasons. And it's a question that I do ask them about their service, the experiences to the extent they want to get into that, but also their post-military service lives and what influence military service did have on their careers, whatever their career path took. And all of them actually credited the commitment, the responsibilities that they had in military service carried over into their, in some cases, public life, police officers or whatever, or private life. Sergeant Anthony Laporto, sergeant here in our township police, is one of the interview subjects, served in the Navy. And so there is a carryover in my own situation. I found that my military service and my career in corporate communications and working with people who appreciated the responsibility that I had for leading people, that was a direct carryover to responsibilities that I had in my civilian life. So these are important stories, and the families, all of them mentioned that the families would comment to them that, gee, Dad, in the case, I didn't know a lot about your service, and this is important. This is history. These are stories. And Justin Strickland, council member, would say that everyone has a personal story, and he had a personal story, and there's a lot of parallels, but all the stories are slightly different, and so they enjoy the opportunity to sit. And yesterday, a few other veterans from the borough came in who have not participated in our program, and I think they will want to sit down, whether I interview them or someone else interviews them. They do want to participate as well. So this is good. This is extending information about veteran service for our nation. We've been recognized by Jan Williams, an individual in Morris County government, who compiles lists of veterans throughout Morris County throughout the decades. And they're amazed. I think we may be the only town in Morris County, maybe in New Jersey, I don't know, that's doing a veterans project quite like this. There is a Library of Congress program, which is more extensive, but a local community putting out the request for veterans to sit, tell their stories, archive them in the library. This is something great. And I think it points to the value that this type of program brings to the community, the awareness for future generations, and for the families as well. This is also a Military Family Appreciation Month, which is great because families in support of veterans, and I know this from my own personal experience, is so critical and so important. So enough said from me, but appreciate your consideration of this idea.
Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you for your service, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody, any other comments or questions? The question about the resolution versus the proclamation format really has to do with the resolution. We'd have to renew that every year, and we'd have to appoint someone to that position to serve. And I'm not even sure how many someones he would want on that position. And I certainly wouldn't want it to be politicized in any way. That would be kind of silly. So, we just want to make sure it's people who are interested in the cause and willing to help out. So, so proclamation really just shows our support as opposed to a resolution, which it's fine as well. If it gets picked up every year, it shows, it's continuity and it provides support. So, I think, we were looking to proceed with a resolution, but if anybody had any questions or comments otherwise. Okay, so we had a draft. Did you say you did send that draft?
Yes.
Okay. Pull that up. I've see.
And if the committee is comfortable with the gist of it, we can do some tailoring, but still, adopt it tonight, subject to some formatting.
Well, you know what, it would be at the, we would add it to the consent agenda. It would be 2024-28, unless we want to pull it out for discussion, because there's nothing really contentious in there. And there's no commitment for funds, that's always a question mark. I don't even think there's any, in terms of how many people we'd appoint, that's not set at this point. It's really more informational about the program. Okay, so why don't we proceed with that as 2024-228, yeah, 228. And then, yes. Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, best practices.
Thank you, Mayor. Best practices checklist, that is, thank you, Tom. Thank you. Best practices checklist is a survey that is circulated by the Department of Community Affairs to every municipality in New Jersey. Something that we are required to do, but is asking a number of sort of mandated questions and then some optional questions to understand where the town falls in terms of what the state's Department of Community Affairs deems to be best practices for municipalities. It's a scored survey based on things that they say are required to be completed, and then unscored for the things that are optional. Where your score falls determines how much of your state aid is withheld. So that's kind of the carrot and stick that they've given them. Is there's really not much teeth to it other than if you want your full state aid. So it's required that we mention this to the governing body. It's a function that the CFO, the clerk, and the administrator complete. We've completed it, we've submitted it, but as part of that, we are supposed to indicate when we're letting you know that it was submitted and what our survey answers are and what the score is. So it was included in your packet. We received a 43.5, I believe it is, yeah, 43.5 of the score. The highest threshold is for no aid being withheld is 35 or more. So we are well above that. There's nothing in here that really is a cause for concern. The unscored portion of it is usually an indicator of things that are coming in the next year or two, even 3 years, once the division of local government, the DCA, kind of gets their act together or puts a program together. So at one point they were talking about, looking at revenues. Years ago they were talking about health benefits for elected officials, and then, that turned into a thing. So we look at this as guidance for the next 2 to 3 years of things that we need to be focused on that we are not focused on in terms of the unscored portion. And then in the scored portion, we're doing very well. I mean, there's very little room for improvement there in terms of issues that we see. So kudos to the governing body for, following through with some of the policies and ordinances that have been recommended over the years by the finance officer administrator with respect to things that have been recommended here. We're doing well, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Well, thank you. That's, it's great to be scoring so high in terms of standards that are considered best practices, so.
And getting our money from the state.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you to you and the team for all your work on that. Any questions or comments on that? Great. Sewer service area. I thought John was going to speak to that.
John's going to speak to that in December, but we wanted to just get the conversation going.
Okay.
For the benefit of the public, Mayor, I believe. That's
Yep.
correct. So John prepared a memo on what the process looks like. If you'd like, or would you like to introduce the topic, Mayor, or you want me to?
I guess I would just say that this was recommended by our planner and our engineer, based on some things that are coming down from NJDP, but also based on just the nature of that River Road area and the steep slopes and the fact that, it feeds into the Passaic, the fact that you've got kind of the environmental corridor there, and there was an interest in those residents when there was some plans for construction there to keep down the density. And overall, that area, the anticipation or the expectation for that area is to keep down the density. So this discussion comes about, it's driven by a number of those parameters. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and speak to that.
Yeah, so, as you said, Mayor, this is one tool to make sure that density doesn't get out of hand over there, because it directly ties into what our infrastructure is able to support. And that area is a particular concern, because if there was added density and they are in the sewer service area, then they're able to connect to, our water pollution control system, which could overburden the system, add to costs, but also pose a lot of challenges just in terms of the environmental impact to connect as well. So John indicates in his memo, I just had it up, where did it go? Indicates in his memo what the process looks like, and that starts with notification of all regulatory governmental agencies that might have an interest in this. So entities like the Morris County Planning Board would certainly need to be involved, and these are all prescribed, this process is prescribed by the state's administrative code and DEP regulations. So you would want to have some hearings, you'd want to incorporate and involve the public so that way they could provide input. And it is something that will take a little bit of time. There's timeframes at which you have to provide notice, provide that feedback. So it's not something that will happen overnight. So any resident that's hearing this doesn't need to be alarmed right now. There's going to be opportunity for input. And we will discuss this. Our engineer will be at the December meeting to talk about what the mechanics look like. He provided in his draft memo what that map currently looks like, outlined in blue, and what the reduced perspective or potentially reduced sewer service area would look like in pink.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and the reason we wanted to bring it up, even though John's not here and Frank's not here to speak to it tonight, is because we wanted to make sure residents were a part of the process. And this isn't against anything that they were looking to do, but it certainly impacts them. So we want to make sure they're aware and they have an opportunity to give input. Any questions or comments at this point, or anything directionally to provide guidance?
This is something that could take, anywhere from probably 90 at a minimum, most likely more than that, to 180 days, just based off of notice, allowing other entities to weigh in, making application to the DEP, maybe getting their comments for revisions, responding. So it's not an easy process, it's not a overnight process either, but it's something that if we want to do, which is why we're doing this now, bringing it up, that we start the process sooner rather than later.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then circular litter regulations.
Tiana, do you want to handle it?
Yes. So we submitted a draft to the committee of a modification of the existing peddlers, solicitors, and canvassers ordinance. The existing ordinance actually has, if you're looking at the draft, it has just section A, and we added the rest of it. It's modeled after Westfield's existing ordinance. It takes a little different spin on it, so I wanted to go through it with you a little bit. It limits the distribution of unsolicited written materials to by where you get your mail or within 3-foot radius. So it's got to be located there. And it also requires that anyone who is going to provide unsolicited written materials, that they have a contact person that you can opt out. And then once you've opted out, if you still get that mailing, then there's fines and penalties that can be imposed. Z took a look at Westfield, thought that this one kind of flowed nicely. It fits well with what we already had kind of the start of in our ordinances under peddlers and solicitors. So we thought it was a natural extension of that, having it framed this way. It does provide that you could still get that information. It's just limiting where it's going to be located and then allowing people to opt out of it.
Go ahead. Okay. Actually, I wanted to ask the committee's input, 3 feet within a mail zone. Is that typical, or because of incumbent efforts to deliver something, is it front door? Because I'm thinking, in the township, primarily mailboxes are out by the street.
Right.
And so it's the toss and run, and is there going to be, okay, they're 4 feet away because of their tossing ability. Is that the best, just soliciting opinion here, is that the best location, or is that the standard location? How'd we come up with that?
That's modeled off of Westfield's existing.
Okay, that's, okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yes.
Any other?
As for whether it's what you want, I leave it to the committee.
Right.
But that's where it came from.
Thank you.
I mean, there were a couple of things, I remember Jessica Romeo had sent to us, and I then checked my flyer when it came in, that there is no way to opt out right now on the Thursday flyer that we all received, yeah, which is a surprise, because I would have signed up right away. But apparently, some of them do have that opt-out, and this one does not. So that, and we're requiring an opt-out on the, okay.
We're requiring, yes, an ability, like a phone number or contact, so that you can opt out on any written materials.
Okay. You know, I wondered if in the vestibule would be better, because then it eliminates the debris on the ground. But, yeah, the person who comes and tosses it is pretty much in that 3-foot zone in my neighborhood, that's for sure. They're,
A little faster coming down Normand, apparently, because they miss.
And just a reminder, this doesn't include anything that's obviously through the mail. Like, it's not any, anything that's gonna be in your mailbox is excluded. So, you know, you get a lot of that sometimes through the mail. So that doesn't count.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the draft ordinance, I should say?
Yeah, I do. I have a question. Does this apply to a nonprofit, or to like political action, or to a resident who is maybe seeking input on a, you know, community matter or a petition? Would there be an exclusion here for them?
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, there are no exclusions as drafted. We can certainly include them if the committee wants, but as drafted and as modeled off of Westfield, there is no exclusions for any category of materials. So if it's unsolicited written materials, it counts.
So to that end, I would feel more comfortable if this said any unsolicited commercial advertising circulars, newspapers, and other printed material. So adding that in, unsolicited commercial, you know, and being commerce meaning meant for profit. Because I certainly wouldn't want to limit a resident who is seeking, you know, input on a petition that they were having signed, or certainly anyone's free speech in terms of in terms of political action, or a nonprofit group who wanted to raise awareness of something happening in an area. I wouldn't want any of that sort of First Amendment stuff to be limited.
You know, I certainly could appreciate that, but I belong to many nonprofits, and I've campaigned many times, and the surefire way to get people not to donate and not to be part is to throw stuff on their lawn or on their driveway. So we've always, if there's any distribution of material, have put it, you know, in the doorway, on the doorway. We never leave it on the driveway. I mean, I don't know anybody who does that. I mean, I do understand what you're saying. I don't want it to seem like it's that, you know, we would invite that as a result. I mean, I think out of common courtesy, I'm not aware of any entity ever doing that other than these commercial, you know, commercial flyers.
And they could still distribute them. They would just have to put them within 3 feet of the mailbox, and if someone opts, and they have to include an opt-out. So it still allows them, it just has those same, I mean, it says advertising, I think anything can be advertising. So I think, you know, that's not excluding any type of category of materials. I think it includes everything as written.
So
So just so I understand that, but so, going to Mr. Lois's point, if somebody does go to the doorstep, because it's not within 3 feet, they can't deliver it, because then I'm misunderstanding it.
This is
Yeah.
is the issue, and then it becomes, well, what if you had a candy cane, type object, and you stuck that in the ground, and it's not really right there, or you have a little flag that you left someone, or I can think of 1,000 scenarios. Or how about a door hanger that goes on a railing instead of a door? I can think of a lot of scenarios, and I just think it's potentially overregulating. What we're trying to prevent is the systematic commercial sort of exploitation or habitual situation where in a system this is going to show up. Now, I also would take exception to the idea that advertising could mean anything. Advertising has a very specific definition. That's why advertising, public relations are different, but yet they have similar mechanisms. Advertising is a public display of messages for the purpose of persuasion. So, and that could be different. You could interpret that differently with direct delivery of something. So, anyway, where I'm going with this is, I want to see a commercial entity limited from doing this every single week. I don't want to see someone who has a petition, a problem, an organization who wants to raise an issue. I don't want to see them impacted by some sort of set of rules like this.
So just for clarification, I believe in our ordinance, when it comes to canvassers, there is an exemption for elected officials or candidates for office going door to door, and for religious groups, and I think like the Boy Scouts when they're doing their popcorn sale. I'm guessing that those exemptions would not be applicable to this, or would they?
Well, I believe, without looking at, I believe that's for them to go door to door as opposed to distributing materials.
Okay.
I mean, the way the A reads, it says, "No peddler, solicitor, or canvasser shall cause a litter or distribute any printed materials housed in the township by throwing or dropping such material on driveways, walks, or lawns, or distribute any printed material in a manner that is likely to cause it to become windblown."
Yeah, that's what was there originally. You gotta then look to B, C.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking that if we just add in commercial entities, that would address it?
To me, the issue is the systematic approach of doing this, not the one-off, not the small group who may be doing this for a month. That's not the issue. The issue is 52 weeks a year. The train's being lined up to deliver unwanted material that becomes soggy and wasted and whatever else. Yeah.
Yep.
Mailings, not mailings, bad choice of word. Commercial written materials would be subject to this, as opposed to anything that's not commercial could put the advertisements, the circulars anywhere, don't have to have a contact for opt-out. So it's that distinction. So commercial advertising would still be allowed. It would just have to be within 3 feet of the mailbox and have a contact person to opt out. And if people opt out, you can't keep delivering it.
And what's the issue applying that universally?
He's saying for nonprofits or for, which I don't think they're gonna do it anyway, but what he's saying is he wouldn't wanna have a nonprofit or a campaigner, because I didn't realize that the way it's written now, it sounds like it would include because all the campaigns put door hangers out.
Right, but so that's not in violation of this?
No?
No.
I think because this has to do with peddler, solicitor, and canvasser, and the exclusions that were mentioned previously are outside of the definition of peddler, solicitor, and canvasser.
Right, so I mean, if we just put door.
Yeah, or on the doorknob, we could add that.
Or at the primary entrance to the residence.
We could add that. That would allow anyone to put something,
Because the issue, the genesis of the circular, you could throw it in the driveway or anything else, but if it's saying, somebody who's campaigning, somebody in a nonprofit, whomever is putting it near the door, then it addresses the issue of it being wind blown or potentially wind blown and not, it's no difference of the mail, so it's either receives its mail or within a 3-foot radius of that point, or the primary,
Primary
still gives everybody the ability to still advertise and do what they need to, but just putting it in a.
It limits the location, requires contact, so you can opt out, and requires that you can't continue doing it if people do opt out. That's what it does. But it does limit it still.
So, okay, so going back again, we don't want people opting out of not-for-profit communications.
They would, yeah, if we just changed it to the door, they could opt out or.
Because also,
anyhow.
they can opt out, sorry, they can opt out for the door? They can opt out for anything.
No, Z's, addition was to expand the locations where the, circulars would be permitted. So it wouldn't just be around the mailbox, it would also be at the door. If we didn't limit it, like Mr. Lois said, and just limit it to commercial, then that would apply to everything. So nonprofits could put it at the door, but they'd also have to still have the opt-out provision, unless you wanted to change that.
I've been a little behind the 8 ball all day, and something about this doesn't make sense. So if you are prohibited from depositing materials on the driveway lawn, in maybe another area, but allowed on the doorstep, and yet you're also allowed within 3 feet of where you receive your mail. If I look at the Venn diagram of that, isn't that one and the same for most, if not all, virtually single-family homes?
No.
So, in other words, okay, you can't throw it on the lawn or driveway, but the mailbox is out by the curb.
Right, so it's 3.
So as long as you get it within 3 feet of your mailbox, that's the safe zone, but if you throw it like in the middle of the lawn, that's excluded.
Right, middle of the driveway, scattered all over, right. So 3 feet around your mailbox, or Z's suggestion is at the main entrance to your residence.
Okay.
And that says it's written now, it can be changed to whatever the committee.
Yeah, it's not scheduled for introduction tonight, it's.
Yeah, no, it's worth, yeah, we can,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you
we
wanna
don't-
take it-
If we don't allow political and nonprofit, then here it says, the unsolicited advertising circulars, newspapers, and other printed shall clearly state the contact person and telephone number to whom the notice may be given. So are we gonna say then that all campaigning has to have telephone numbers on it now?
yeah, no, I know. And nonprofit. That's putting a burden on, yeah, a lot of different entities.
Wait, I think go back to the definition of peddler, solicitor, and canvasser. Aren't there exclusions to those definitions?
Yes,
Or
but
carve
that's
outs.
only A. That's only A. You've got to look at B. B says any person.
Yeah, because peddlers, canvassers, and solicitors are typically actually ringing your doorbell and wanting to talk to you versus
Right.
this is
Just
more like the
dropping off.
sketchy van that drives by and just tosses something in your driveway and keeps running away.
Okay, let's, rather than sitting here and dwelling over this thing. So the objective is to allow, to enable nonprofits to be able to drop stuff and not have to opt out, to enable election material to be distributed and not have to opt out, because that, I don't even know how you manage that. It's really a focus on, so if you can go back and revisit this with that objective in mind. And whether or not entrances, it's fine if it's primary if we, keep it to primary entrance or 3 foot, it's really more so what we're trying to limit.
And also, I mean, other than political campaigns, to also be just a resident who had a petition or wanted to get information out to their neighborhood about something that was coming. You know, I guess that's political in its nature, but I don't know that that's a common vernacular for political
Oh, yeah,
action.
no, this is how we,
To say that this is limited for commercial, like just commercial entities, or profit and commercial entities.
Yeah, and that was my original suggestion.
okay, I would say let's not introduce it tonight, so you can go back and just, make sure all the
Yeah, I
language
think-
is consistent?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything pressing on this. We can bring it back in January.
Yes,
Yeah, I think the committee's going to want to see the exact language too, so.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else while she's taking it back for redrafting? Okay, thank you. Okay, workshop session. So we finished the highlights. Was there anything else on the reports that were submitted or on the workshop materials that we received? Any other questions? Okay. Then I will close out our workshop session and we will move into our regular meeting session. And I am going to start with the mayor's message. Last week was Diwali. To our residents who celebrated, I wish you a belated happy Diwali. May the light of Diwali fill your life and home with happiness and prosperity. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and I had the honor of speaking at the Green Village Fire Department's annual Veterans Day ceremony. In the words of Harry S. Truman, our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. I hope our residents take time to reflect on and honor the sacrifice of our veterans and active service members. I also wanted to thank our emergency service members, including our Green Village Fire Department, the Chatham Township Fire Department, the Chatham Emergency Squad, and the Police Department. They've had an unusual number of fires to battle of late in the township and have provided backup to nearby fire departments that have been busy battling New Jersey wildfires. Our fire departments and emergency medical services are all volunteer organizations. In these dry conditions, any and every fire becomes a serious risk to people and property, and they've done a commendable job putting out fires and protecting our community. Please be mindful that we're still in a drought watch and that New Jersey has issued a Stage 3 fire restriction. Our Environmental Commission has shared tips for conserving water on their Facebook page, but you can also find information on the NJ American Water site and the NJ DEP site. As this is our only meeting in November and Thanksgiving will be here before we know it, I wish to express my gratitude for our dedicated and talented township staff and professionals, for my colleagues on the Township Committee, and for all volunteers who give so much of their time to making Chatham Township a wonderful place to call home. I wish you all a Thanksgiving filled with family and friends, lots of good food, and lots of wonderful memories in the making. Okay, let's move on to our committee reports. Committeeman Lois.
I have no report other than to say that I was also at the Veterans Day service at the Green Village Triangle Park, which is really very nicely put on. Thank you to the Chatham Methodist Church there, the Green Village Methodist Church rather, and the Green Village Fire Department. They put on an event every year for this, and it's a solemn and reflective event, as well as their Memorial Day service. I would recommend to residents. We see a lot of familiar faces when we go to these events, but I would recommend to other residents that they make a point to attend them. They are very worthwhile.
Thank you. Committeeman McHugh.
Okay, be a little bit brief tonight as well. First, let's start with the library. Following on Mr. Salvis and the same theme anyway, there is a table by the fireplace in the library. If residents wish to take a quick moment to write a Thanksgiving card for our veterans, coming on the heels of Veterans Day and looking at your mention of Thanksgiving, so very timely and appropriate. I would like to mention that there are some advantages that you may or may not be aware of just by having a library card. One of it, the newest, is there is a perk, is a 15% off tickets to the Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey. So if that's something that interests you and you have a library card, please do take advantage of that. I'll move on to the Environmental Commission. The main meeting actually has been moved this month until actually tomorrow night. But the big news is the work that was done on the improvements for trees and planting over at Shunpike. It was a very successful effort, and they are encompassed and hopefully growing, and they're being watered by some diligent citizens in this dry period to give them life and hopefully help them grow. And so we will be furthering on that very soon. Open Space met 2 weeks ago. The main item of agenda is you will hopefully be noticing relatively soon the improvements around the Hillside Trail, particularly the Corn Crib, which soon shall be returning to historic green, and we look forward to that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I do want to take a moment to thank our environmental committee volunteers and the volunteers that came out and installed those plantings at Shunpike. You know, it's one thing, it was a big job, as was, to do the plantings, but then to have a cycle of people going every day to water those plants is, I mean, I could barely keep the things in my backyard alive, let alone go over to Shunpike and water the trees over there. So I really do appreciate their efforts. And Hillside Trail, we did the Mayor's Walk there this past weekend, and the Corn Crib, just the work that's been done there is really impressive, and it's very exciting. So they've put up plexiglass, and they will eventually move artifacts in there, some old farm equipment and some other items to show, so when people are along walking, they can go to the Corn Crib and kind of have that experience, which is pretty cool. So thank you to the committee that's been working on that as well. Okay, Committeewoman Rowland.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge, thank you, veterans. I hope you felt how appreciated you were yesterday and every day. The Historical Society here in the municipal building, there are photographs lining the hallways. There was a reception about a week ago to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Great Swamp not becoming an airport. And they solicited photographs of the swamp from photographers. I don't know if you've ever been around the swamp, and you'll see, you know, a lot of the same faces that are there, and a lot of their photographs are here, and they were at the reception, and it's just really amazing to see the shots that they get. So if you have an opportunity to come by and look at them, and every time you pass them at the Great Swamp and you're walking and they have their camera and they're shooting something, you try to look. And I learned at the reception that there's nothing you can see with the blind eye. They're so far away, but they capture these shots, and they're so happy to show it to you on their camera. So come take a look at their work here at the municipal building. Tomorrow, here in the gym, from 4 to 6, is we're offering, the Board of Health is offering free high-dose flu shots. So if you want to come get a flu shot, that's from 4 to 6 tomorrow, Thursday, November 13th. Another item that we learned at the Board of Health this week is that this year the COVID variants are very well matched to the vaccine that we're offering, so that if you do get you do opt to get a COVID vaccine this year, they're very effective. So I know in the past it was kind of hard to keep up with all the variants with the vaccines, but this year they're very well aligned, so you'll have that protection. And that's it.
By chance, did they explain what a high-dose flu shot is?
It's more, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think it's just, as Committeewoman Rowland was about to say, just you know, a higher amount of you know, the actual vaccine is administered. The high dose, you know, the high dose is popular among seniors since they're a more vulnerable population.
Is
So I
that
think
what's
it's
commonly being distributed, do you know? Or
I would just say for the public's benefit, I'm not sure that we should be commenting on this without more precise and accurate information.
Yeah, I would
this
agree
is
with
an
that.
official body.
Yeah, no, I get it. I was just curious if they had to explain to you what that was, but that's okay. You're right. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Just very quickly, 2 weekends ago, the township held its second annual Fall Festival. We were blessed with very temperate, wonderful weather for the families to come out. Children enjoy the organized events. So hats off to the farm at Green Village for donating the pumpkins, the high schoolers for coming out and manning stations, as well as the Historical Society who came out. Pat and Martha were there in full spirit, armed with artifacts and stories. So I think probably about a couple hundred people showed up, and Mayor Ewald was there in attendance. So I think it was hats off to everyone involved. The Girl Scouts were there as well, manning a station. So hats off to the staff, Z and others for putting the second installment together. And I think it's emblematic of the types of events we'd like to do recreationally and town-wise in support of community building. And that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. I had forgotten that, I guess it's been a while, so I didn't realize that those events took place since our last meeting.
Yes.
So I thank you both for mentioning them. You are reminding me, though, that day we did the Mayor's Walk, again, was at the Great Swamp Education Center. And I hadn't been there in years, and that is a very cool walk. It's really beautiful there, so if you haven't taken advantage of that, I definitely encourage you to do so. And I just wanted to mention the Senior Center will be closed Thanksgiving weekend. They have two wonderful holiday luncheons scheduled with, they usually have great food and music. This year it's scheduled on December 5th and December 12th. So to our seniors, if you're interested, please go online and sign up. Go onto the Senior Center's website. They will also be closed the last week of December and the first week of the new year for renovations. So we're looking forward to seeing those new updates. Okay. Yes.
Did one of you mention the winter holiday since Deputy Mayor was talking about
Oh, yes.
the fall festival, the winter holiday wonderland?
Please do mention that.
Did anyone- okay,
No,
so,
we didn't.
The events committee is putting that together. I don't know if it's, we did that last year for our second year. We're doing that again for our third year. It's been growing. It's been growing every year. The Winter Wonderland Festival. It's tentatively scheduled for December 12th, Thursday at 6:30 p.m. here at the Municipal Building. We'll be meeting this week with Public Works and our Special Events Chair to finalize some details for that, but more information will be put on our website and on our Facebook page, and we'll be blasting that email out. So please encourage everybody to attend. Santa, I hear, will be there as well again this year. So we had
Great.
horse-drawn carriages last year, which was a big hit. We're hoping to have that back.
Oh, good. December 12th, 6:30?
December 12th, 6:30.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're moving into our public hearing final adoption of ordinances. The first one is ordinance 2024-19, the zoning overlay. And refresh my memory, let's see, can you give us?
That's the Ferber,
Oh, the Ferber
PSCNG
property.
Ferber.
And it would be,
We have to do
excuse me, it would be worth noting that the planning board, this was referred for master plan consistency review, and the planning board determined that this was not inconsistent with the master plan.
Yes, and this recommendation came from the planning board, so I would hope that they would not find it inconsistent with the master plan. Okay, we will open the public hearing for ordinance 2024-19. Nobody watching on Zoom and nobody running up to the mic over here. So we will close the public hearing, and I'll take a motion to adopt 2024-19.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, can we get a vote, please?
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. 2024-20 Parks and Field Rules and Regulations. Okay. Let's do the public hearing first. I'll open the public hearing for 2024-20. Nothing. There's nobody on Zoom. No, we're just talking to each other. Okay. Just us fish. Okay, so I will be closing that public hearing. I'll take a motion to adopt.
I'll move that, oh, I'll second.
Any discussion? And we had a lot of discussion about this already.
Yes.
Okay. I'll take a vote, please.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and 2024-21 WPC capital ordinance, we will open the public hearing. And we will
Nobody.
close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
In a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. Can we get a vote, please?
Mr. Lois?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And just so residents are aware, these have been discussed numerous times over the last few sessions. Okay, introduction of ordinances 2024, oh no, this one
We
we're
punted that.
holding off, we're pushing that one off. Okay, so we are moving to the consent agenda, and we have added 2024-227, which is a hiring resolution, and 2024-228, which is the Hometown Heroes resolution. Does anybody need to pull anything out of the consent agenda for discussion?
The only thing on 222 is there's a typo in the date, so I don't know if that has to be pulled out or just adjusted. The 9th whereas. Yeah, but it just says October 230th, 2024. The second from the bottom.
Okay, that's non-substantive, that's just a typo, we can
Okay,
fix that. So that would be October 23rd.
got it, okay.
Great, thank you.
I have one quick question on 218, on the awarding of contract. I actually just have one very quick question. There's an annual fee. What is the timeline on that contract? Is it a single annual contract, or is it an ongoing contract that is paid annually for the
Is
$77,000?
that a quick question? Do we need to pull that out for discussion? Is that a quick answer, I should say?
I think we should pull it out.
All right, you want to pull it out for discussion? All right, let's
Please.
pull it out for discussion. Which number was that? Transportation number
218.
218.
218.
Okay. Okay, anything else pulling out for discussion? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with number 4 removed for discussion?
So moved?
I'll second.
Mr. Lois?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi?
Yes.
And Mayor Ewald?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, 2024-218, awarding contract for transportation services. I'm sorry, so you want to go ahead and answer that question now? Was it annual?
Yes, it's annual, yes, so it would be $77,500 each year.
But would it be rebid
The term.
each year? That's my,
Oh,
right.
I'm
What's the
sorry.
term of
The
the
term.
contract?
Let me pull up the term, don't wanna go off of memory, hold on 1 second. Nick, jump in if you remember. Yeah, I don't know.
That's all right.
Here we go.
3 years? 3 years?
3 years.
Okay, I'm good with that. Thank you. Thank you.
Have we at any point received a copy of the contract for review? Or okay, so still under drafting? Okay.
This week I'm having the kind of kickoff, I think, actually this week, I forget what my assistant put on for, hopefully Friday morning, we're gonna kick off to decide and execute and go over all these things.
So it may not be I'm sorry. Yeah. So it may not be appropriate in this venue, but the questions I really had was, what representations are they making as far as the scheduling, the frequency of the runs and the vehicle
So
they're
that's all-
using?
that's
That's
all-
all going to be,
That was all actually in the bid specs.
Okay.
In terms of what's required and what, all of that's also based off of an ordinance that the governing body adopted some number of years ago, which is also based on language.
in the affordable
required,
housing.
Under, the tax credit regulations and also.
Okay.
In order to meet the definitions of what public transportation is. So they've got to be within a certain time in the morning, certain time in the afternoon, And it's just gotta be, trying to remember what it was, just one run in the, they have to do a minimum of one run in the morning and then one run in the afternoon.
And this would all be,
I thought it was two.
Let me,
Let me look. I can tell you what it,
you have the specs open.
yeah, that's what I have open.
But what we've done is it's essentially, it's whatever's required is
Okay.
what they're supposed to be doing.
And we're having the ribbon cutting, I think it's December 18th. So the expectation is that we're going to start issuing certificate of occupancies before the end of the year. When do we have to have this up and running?
That's gonna be their first, they just need one TCO for each building by the end of the year. But then there's the issue of actually occupying those units. And in this is a 60-day implementation clause at a minimum in terms of notifying them, hey, we're signing, they've got 60 days to implement. But they're not expecting that they're gonna need it within that 60 days. Based off of my meeting with them on Friday, if they're able to run, if it's needed for those 3 individuals, before the end of the year, we'll be able to make that accommodation so we meet the regulations. But it'll be effectively in January is the 60-day start date.
Mayor, it's, twice between 5:30 and 9:30 in the morning, and twice between 3 and 6 PM, except on Fridays, it can be one run at each of those times.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Did I take a motion to approve? I don't think so. I'll take a motion to,
We still need the motion.
yes, I'll take.
I move that we approve 2024-218.
Great. Do I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi,
yes.
and Mayor Ewald.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll open our second hearing as citizens, and the same rules apply. Anybody jump online in the last few minutes?
Still nobody.
Okay. Then I will close the second hearing of citizens. And we will move into executive session. We don't expect to take any action after. Can I get a motion to move into executive? And I don't expect it to be a long executive session. Can I get a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Just for formality, the topic is the contract negotiations.
What do we have left?
We had, the easement. that donation,
Okay.
And then there was
Okay.
and Vernon Grove.
Vernon Grove, yeah. Okay, so is that, I'm trying to think if it's contract negotiation? Yeah, okay.
Okay, now we're not expecting action after the executive session. So if we're ready for a vote, Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mrs. Rowland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Choi,
Yes.
and Mayor Ewald.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. We are back in executive session.
Recording stopped.